Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Power of Not Knowing. I'm Sterling. Hi, if you're new here. Hello. I have been struggling to start this podcast. Like, the amount of takes I've just done is embarrassing. We're going to go with that one because I think that was the best and I'm not going to overthink it. Okay. Hi, if you're new here. I wanted to sit down this morning because I got to journal, I got to meditate, got to eat a little breakfast, drink a little coffee, and also I was like, you know what, you need to record a podcast. I'm about to go train, but I was like, let's record a podcast really quick, get yourself going, and yeah. Okay, so let's start off with our weekly catch-up. My wires are getting tangled up. Hold on. Okay, yeah, so weekly catch-up. Let's see. Yesterday was my friend's birthday. It was Mackenzie's birthday. And we went swimming, and it was so much fun. But, yeah, other than that, this week has gone by really quick. I've been applying to some jobs. I have been getting into routine of things, and also the reason why, part of what I've been going through this week is why I want to record this episode, of course, because if you don't know already, this podcast is basically me sharing what I'm struggling with as a 23-year-old, because unlike, I'm sharing what I'm going through for the sake of but for the sake of someone else is going through the same thing, and just showing that I'm working through things. I don't have it all figured out. So that's why I'm sharing. That's why each episode is basically like what I've gone through this past week, or what I'm going through in this season of life, and how I'm figuring it out, just so you don't feel alone. And yeah, so this week I've definitely been getting in my own head. I would love to come on here and say, like, oh, I've had the best week. And of course, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for everything that's happened to me this past week and stuff. But, like, if I'm being completely honest, and that's what I'm gonna do for this podcast, this week has been mentally all over the place. I've been in my own head a lot. I've been a little, not necessarily sad or anything, but I'm just like, I don't know if anyone else experiences this. I'm sure you do, but it feels like there's like a little person inside of your head just like talking, and that voice is not necessarily saying the most positive things or the best of things. And yeah, that's what I've been experiencing. Like, there's just this little voice in my head that's just, as soon as I try to do something, it's like, why are you doing it? Like, well, it's just like negative. And it's just, I know it's just the power of rewiring my brain, and that won't always be the case. Or also, I know with women, your cycle may affect things, and there's so many factors. You know, like, there's life factors. We have personal problems going on in our lives. We have different backgrounds growing up and stuff. But yeah, I'm usually a really positive person, and I try to be, at least expressing myself to others. Like, I don't think it would be very obvious for people to, like, if y'all know me, I don't think it would be very obvious to know that I get really sad, because not necessarily that I don't want to share that. I'm just more of a person who's like, oh, I would much rather not talk about it and just deal with it privately. But for the sake of this episode, I was like, I guess I need to get uncomfortable and share that I have not been feeling very positive, and I've had a lot of negative self-beliefs that of course came from like when I was younger and I've been trying to deal with, but like this week especially. So yeah, I don't have much to catch up with my weekly catch up because that's kind of all I can think about. But yeah, so let's just get into the episode because I'm really interested in talking about all of this because I did a lot of journaling this morning. Like, I have like a couple pages of notes in my like little podcast session, and I think what I came up with is something I needed to hear, and I was like, oh, okay, I feel better. This made me feel better. Let's share this with someone because they may be feeling really like negative and like down on themselves. So yeah, so this morning I started with a guided meditation. So I journaled a bit. I woke up feeling not necessarily anxious, but not as positive as I wanted to feel. So I was like, okay, let's journal. Let's get this out. And then I was like, you know what? I think I really need to sit down and meditate. But I had a lot of thoughts going on in my head. So if you have a lot of thoughts running around in your head and it's hard to sit still and quiet, but like that's the only thing you want because you can't necessarily like stop all of the thoughts from like going, it's hard to shut off our brains, right? So I would suggest going to YouTube and finding a guided meditation. I found this guided meditation by Brianna Wiest. I think that's how you say her name. She writes really good books. I've read a couple of her books and I follow her on Instagram. She's super like insightful on feeling all of your emotions, and it's so good. And I was like, oh, there's a guided meditation. I have never even heard her voice because I only read her books. So I found it and it was so good. Like, it was only like 10 minutes long, and I sat there and literally I was bawling my eyes out, dude. Like, I was crying. It was just so good. It was it like walked you through like you with your younger self, and like, oh, it's so good. I'll link it in the show notes, but like it had me crying. It was like, okay, so basically you're walking with your younger self. You took them to a room and then you like let them go and let them be free, and they were like, okay, like you were there for them. You're just comforting them, and then it got you to a place where you could just let them go into a really safe space. And that was very like, oh, I don't know, it's like little things like that kind of like, I was like, oh, this is really, I don't know, it made me cry. Maybe I'm just sensitive today. And then you like went to another door and there was a version of yourself who you sat down with, and it was like a version of yourself that you wanted to tell that they're like, thank you. It's like you saw a version of yourself that you didn't think was you weren't very proud of. Like they're like a low point of yourself. But through the meditation, it like got you to thank them because they got you to where you are now. So it like gave that version of yourself that you thought wasn't that important. It gave them credit for all that they did and how strong that they were to get you to the position you are right now. And that had me bawling. I was like, oh my God, what is going on? This is insane. And then it had your higher self come at whatever age you picture your higher self to know the most and be the most comforting, be the most confident, be the most like you that you want it to be at whatever age. They could be like 5 years older from you right now, or they could be a 60-year-old version of you and whatever. So you like see them, you see what they're wearing, you see how they hold themselves, you see how they smile, you see how they don't break eye contact and how confident they are. And okay, first, like, if all that had me crying, this had me really crying because it was like, oh my God. And so you get to talk to them. You get to envision exactly who they are and how they do everything, like how they hold themselves. And then you get a chance to ask them any question. You get a chance to ask them everything that they know and for all the advice that they would give you. And it's super crazy because it's like you're asking this version of yourself in your meditation all this stuff, but it's also you. It's you in your head telling yourself what you need to hear because you know it. Like, you know that version of yourself exists and knows enough to say the advice that you need to hear. And then the meditation had me like, you like get to give them a hug. You get to fully embrace them and like thank them for the advice. And you just get to embody them. Like after you give them a hug, you realize that, oh, this person just like, I don't know the right word. I don't know how they phrase it, but this person became you. Like, you look down and you're like, oh, like the two people collided, your higher version and you now, and you just like adopted who they were. And then you walk out of the room with that higher version of yourself in you. Like, that's who you are. Like, nothing else from the past matters. You have all the advice in you from your higher self, and you get to start your day fresh as the person who gave you all the advice and who has lived through all of these things. So it was so good. It was very like, it was very powerful. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, it was good to quiet my mind. And if you have trouble like I do, I can't really meditate by myself because I will think about every little thing. But it was nice to, and I still struggled at the beginning to quiet my thoughts and like listen to the guided meditation and really be in it, because that's hard as well. But once you get to a point where you're like, oh, like, it's very powerful, and it's like, oh my God, wow, it was insane. So I started my morning with that, and I realized basically what I got from that meditation is that I've been losing insight on gratitude and being grateful for where I am now and how I got here, and how much gratitude I have for the person, for all the upcoming, for all, from all, what am I trying to say? From all of the old versions of myself who have brought me here. And of course, I'm not where I want to be. And of course, I'm still insecure. And of course, I still have these negative self-limiting beliefs. And of course, I struggle with things. But I'm very thankful for for all those versions of me who have gone through what they have gone through and brought me here. And it's easy to, when we have anxiety and we have all of these thoughts running through our heads that stop us from trusting ourselves, it's easy to forget about showing gratitude within our daily lives. It's easy to get engulfed in all of those thoughts. So the one thing I got was just this feeling of like, oh, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for all the little things. And yeah, so I started journaling after this. I was like, oh, I have an idea for a podcast that I would love to talk about. And I give thanks to that. I give thanks to myself for wanting to sit down and not be on my phone and not ignore all of these feelings, and who decided to sit down and meditate and try to like get these thoughts together, because it helped me with this idea for this podcast. And I was just thinking, I was like, what if it all worked out? Like, being grateful for everything, but like, it can get you so far. And trusting yourself, it's like, what if it all worked out? What if what if I could give the amount of energy that I'm giving to all of the bad thoughts and the negative self-limiting beliefs? What if I could give it to being grateful and believing in myself and trusting in myself? Like, if I could equally or give more energy to trusting myself, like, what if it all worked out? Instead of believing like, okay, first of all, the amount of times I say like in these podcasts frustrates me, so I'm gonna try to not say it. But yeah, what if you truly, okay, I was sitting there journaling and I'm like, what if you truly went all in believing that you are worth it? Like, okay, this sounds silly saying it out loud, but I was like, whenever I wake up and have these instant thoughts of like, oh, you already snoozed your alarm, you haven't done anything productive and it's already 11 a.m., you don't have anything you're working towards. Like, oh, there's so many limiting beliefs that my brain just tells me, and it's so hard to get it out of my head, where I'm eventually just doing exactly what those beliefs, like exactly what they're telling me that I'm not worthy of. So I'm like, oh, why even try? Because I believe them. So I'm like, what if all of these crazy dreams that you had, sorry, I had to burp, I'm sorry. What if you went all in and trusted yourself despite the opinions of others or the limiting beliefs holding you back? Like, what I'm saying isn't new or original. It's just a good reminder when you are so caught up in these self-limiting beliefs that it's just insane to think, what if you just went all in on becoming the highest version of you and going after what makes you happy? We all have these aspirations in lives and little dreams in the back of our heads that we push aside for the sake of not wanting to bother other people, not wanting to take up space, not wanting to go after them because we fear that we're going to fail. So we decide to not even try. And I know many of us have them, these little goals and dreams in our heads that we push aside because we think that they aren't worthy. We think that we're not worthy of achieving them because of how we were raised or all of the circumstances in our lives, that we don't think it's possible, or we don't think that it's worth it because we have all these responsibilities. Like, we have to work, we have kids to take care of, we have all of these societal things getting pushed on us that we're like, oh, we can do that. We can chase after those dreams later when the circumstances are right. Or we can, like, let's just wait a bit until we feel ready. And a lot of times people don't live out those dreams because of this fear of failing and this fear of not being worthy. in this fear of not having everything perfect that it never ends up happening. We never truly believe in ourselves and trust in ourselves and live out these dreams because we think that it's not important. And I'm here to tell you, all your little dreams and goals aren't little, and they are so important if it means you are happy and you feel fulfilled. And so what if people don't understand what you want? Like, okay, first of all, I'm saying who cares because even though I'm the first one who's like, what if they think this? It's so hard for me to like be like, who cares? But like, for real, this life, we are all gonna die. We are all not promised tomorrow. Why do we take this life so seriously? Like, working and doing things for the sake of what everyone else wants, that is something I will never get behind. Like, who cares what people think? Who cares if it's not a traditional path that everyone will understand? Who cares if it doesn't make you so much money? Like, literally, who cares? If it makes you happy, I think going after that thing is so much worth it than telling yourself it's not important and pushing it aside until you're 20 years down the road and you're like, I wish I would have done that. Because you're barely finding out that, oh, life's so short. All of that stuff that I cared about because other people were telling me I should care about really didn't even matter. Like, that's just wild to me. It's wild to me because as I was journaling, I'm like, who really cares? But I'm sitting here like this past week being like, oh my God, like in my head, like, okay, so what if it all worked out? What if you started a podcast sharing what you believe in and got to connect and make others feel seen and inspired? What if that worked out? What if you started posting on social media and realized it isn't so scary and the opinions of others don't matter if it makes you happy? What if you put everything aside and went to travel the world because you have always dreamt of doing that? You have always dreamt of exploring other cultures and doing it alone and meeting amazing people who you never would have gotten to meet if you stayed in the small town that you only knew. What if you quit your draining job and become a writer or a musician because you have a voice that's meant to be heard and that gives you so much like happiness, but you haven't for the sake of other people wouldn't understand? Like, what if all of this worked out? What if all of these dreams that you have in the back of your head that I know you do, I know every one of you have something that you're like, that is so fun to me, or I've always wanted to do that, but I have just been so afraid or waiting for the perfect moment. Like, what if you put all of your energy into believing that all of those dreams are literally possible? What if it all worked out? What if you went to travel the world and your life changed because you met your soulmate, or you met some of your most amazing friends, and you, like, there's so many possibilities for believing in yourself. And I know it's hard. Trust me. I I know it's hard, and it's also hard to understand where I'm coming from unless you're in a good headspace to accept it. Because if I would have been listening to someone say this a week ago, I would have been like, literally, what the fuck? Who cares? Like, like sometimes we're so engulfed in our negative self-limiting beliefs that it's like, it's too daunting to even want to think about. But if we put as much energy and trust, if we put as much energy into trusting and knowing it would all work out that we do into tearing our dreams down, there's no way that these dreams would just be a thought in your head. There's no way that you wouldn't be living out the life that you have always wanted to live out. Because if you just focused on it enough and just like really, really envisioned and trusted yourself, because you're the only one who knows how important those dreams mean to you. And that's okay. That's how it should be. We need to stop expecting to wait for the perfect time and wait till everyone else understands us to think it's possible to live out these dreams. We need to stop expecting other people to fully get what we believe in, because we don't need that. We're waiting for someone to tell us that it's okay to do this little thing that they don't understand. We're waiting for them to give us the okay to do it, as if their opinion matters. No one else in this world is going to understand you the way you understand yourself. No one else is going to believe in you the way you need to believe in yourself, because no one else is capable of achieving your dreams but yourself. So if you fully believe all these self-limiting beliefs and it stops you from doing these things that you know fill you up, there's just no point. Wait, I don't know what the fuck I just said, actually. Like, how could it not work out? How could it not work out if you gave as much energy into trusting yourself and believing in yourself as much as you do hating on you for not being happy? There are so many days where I literally am so upset with myself the entire day because I'm not where I want to be. And it causes me to waste the entire day and feel that way the entire day, because it's easy to just accept these negative beliefs and believe them and cause it to spiral into something so low than it is to sit there and be like, oh, wait, what if that did happen? What if this happened? And feel grateful and feel intentional and feel motivated and inspired to do all of these things because you believe in it. It's so much easier to do the opposite. It's so much easier to be negative because you already have, it's hard to rewire our brains. Our brains are wired into putting ourselves last and putting others before you. You have the power to turn your life around, and it can be scary and it can be hard to get out of your head, and it's easy to feel inspired and motivated one minute and sad and anxious the next. You just have to remember those thoughts don't define you. and the highs will always come back. You just have to remember that the negative thoughts that you wake up with one day after having such a good day, they don't define you. And it is possible to change those thoughts slowly, but surely they're going to change, and you're going to rewire your brain into believing in yourself. It's not going to just take one time to just be like, oh, I believe that this is possible. I believe that I can go open my own coffee shop and be successful 1 minute, and then the next be like, what are you thinking? Like, it's just normal to have highs and lows. So it's normal to be motivated and inspired one day, and it's normal to wake up the next day and feel like absolute crap and think, why did I believe that was possible? And that was such a waste. But I wanted to give y'all some advice on things that help me when I'm feeling low. Because if we could just eliminate how many bad days that we have, like if we have out of our week, if we have like 3 days that we're feeling like motivated and on a high and feeling grateful, and it's so easy to just believe in ourselves those days, because some days it is easy. Some days it doesn't take effort to be like, I can do anything. I can literally go fucking start up whatever. Like, you feel so inspired. You're like, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to go clean my entire house, and I feel on top of the world. And then the next day, you feel, sorry, there's a dog barking, but the next day you feel like shit and you don't believe in yourself. And then that turns into a spiral where you went 3 days believing in yourself throughout this week and then 4 days not. If we could just know how to handle those low days until we rewire our brains into having more, into getting ourselves out of the funk instead of letting it spiral into more, I feel like then it's easier to know what's possible, and it's easier to trust in ourselves, and it's easier to believe all of the things that we are capable of. Because I'll be the first to say it's impossible to believe in myself when I feel so low and crappy, that if I could just have more days where I'm like on top of the world, and I realize that I'm in control of that, because you are in control of that. You can turn your day around after having a shitty time. There are so many people in this world who don't have nearly as much as you, but they are so grateful and so happy, because I think the most important thing remembering on those days is just being grateful, into having the health that you have, into having the people in your life that you have, into just having all of the stuff, having what you have in your life right now. If you can just be grateful, I think I'm getting a little lost in what I'm saying. I'm getting a little like, that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so I'm going to share, because I can tell you all of these things. I can tell you like, what if all of this worked out? What if these dreams did something? But if I could easily tell you that, but I know there's going to be times when you don't believe it. And I think the number one step is figuring out how to turn all of those times into a positive outlook, and to have more good days than bad days. That will slowly but surely, it will change the trajectory of your life. because you won't have as many of the low days. And if you don't have as many of the low days, you don't have as much of the self-limiting beliefs. And therefore, you feel more positive most days and more in control of how you feel most days. And I think you can turn those bad habits of talking down on yourself into good habits, into quieting those negative thoughts, and eventually having 1 or 2 bad days a week won't be nearly as detrimental as having multiple bad days spiral into the whole month. And then you're like, oh, I wasted the whole month. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it makes sense. But let's move on. Here are some things that I do when I'm feeling low. And I want to share these with you. You've probably already heard all of them. They're pretty much what we know will help us when we're feeling low. But I'm going to just remind you, because I woke up this morning feeling crappy about myself. And I did a few of these things. And I'm not feeling the greatest, but I felt inspired to journal about all of this. And I'm like, oh, if you could just keep up these little habits, they will compound into something bigger. So the first one I have is no phone in the morning. A lot of times we wake up, instantly reach for our phone, start scrolling. As much as we don't want to believe it, we are looking at other people's lives and we're looking at their highlight reels and we're like, oh, this person already went on a run this morning. Or this person is in Europe right now. I don't know. It's easy to be like, you start comparing yourself right away. You're chasing, you're getting this dopamine hit first thing in the morning. That's cheap dopamine. It's not real. It's instant dopamine where it like skyrockets all of these emotions and all of this anxiety. Like, you're not supposed to wake up and get hit with so much information. It's okay. It's okay. You're gonna be okay if you don't look at your phone and check your TikTok and check your Instagram stories and check your emails and check your text messages for 20 minutes. It's okay to give yourself a little bit of time in the morning to just be present with yourself. It's the quietest time of the day. You haven't got hit with all of your responsibilities. Take a second to just go pee, go brush your teeth, go get some water, open the window, open the curtains, take your dog on a little walk. Just, you're going to be okay without your phone. So no phone in the morning. Another thing, journaling with intention. I have started journaling every morning, not necessarily trying to journal for 30 minutes, but just when I start the day with being like, oh, I'm feeling this way, or oh, I'm going to be intentional with my day, and I'm going to just journal through your thoughts, journal what's possible, journal about anything you think of, really. But just sitting there with your own thoughts and getting them out, it starts the day with not accepting all of these negative beliefs. You kind of just get it out and you can you feel like you can breathe and you can think clearly. Journaling's a good one. Another one, sitting in silence or doing a guided meditation. That is so hard nowadays when we have so many distractions. But if we could just sit every day, or most days, maybe just the days that you have a lot of thoughts going in your head, and just take deep breaths and sit there and feel them and try to think about the guided meditation helps me a lot. I can mostly do that because if I sit there in silence, the negative thoughts will eat me alive. Like they will swarm my brain. So if the guided meditation helps you like focus on this person's voice and they will guide you through it. Like you can easily find those on YouTube. Some of them are a little weird, but find one you like, save it, do it every morning. They're not very long. Find a short one, like 10 minutes, and you will just feel better after sitting with yourself. We never sit with ourselves. We never truly know what's going on in our heads and our bodies because we never allow ourselves to be alone. We always want distraction. Another one, going on a walk. I know a lot of us have to take our dogs out in the morning. Take this opportunity when it's cool, because it's so hot right now, to go on a little walk. Don't take your phone. Don't have a podcast on. Don't have music. Just simply go outside for 10 minutes first thing in the morning and just feel how calm it is, and just look around and notice things that you would never notice, like the noises, like the birds, or that sounds so silly, but like just look around, notice the things that you would normally not pay attention to because you were distracted by your phone, or you weren't intentionally getting outside and enjoying it. So that's a good one. All of these people have said whatever. Movement is the next one. It is hard to explain the feeling after a good workout or after just moving your body to someone who doesn't know the feeling. But if you do know the feeling of doing something hard first thing in the morning or any time of the day, but the feeling after doing something hard and like completing it and like being like, damn, I did that. It's like dopamine. You get dopamine hits and you get, I know the word. What is the word? I have to look it up. Endorphins. Endorphins is the word I was looking for. You have all of these endorphins. You just feel super like, oh my God, it's the best. I could preach about this, but doing something hard when you didn't want to, because you know it's going to make you feel better, it's good for your body, you are blessed enough to move your body when other people cannot. It's just so rewarding. It gets you out of your head. It switches. All of these endorphins make you feel like you are on top of the world. You can do anything. And it just sets up your day. It literally gets all of these toxins out. Like, okay, if you know, you know. If you don't, I recommend you doing something hard. You moving your body, getting a little sweat. Try to be negative after that. If you are, you're definitely not as negative or in your head as you were before the workout. And I will bet you money on that. So another thing is making a gratitude list. Sitting there taking 5 minutes. When you are just super negative, super in your head, force yourself to get a piece of paper, stop what you're doing, and write out what you're grateful for, who you're grateful for, why you're grateful for them. It could just be a small list. Like, I'm grateful for this apartment. I am grateful for my dog for cuddling me because she knows I feel sad. Like, the small things, it makes it impossible to be like, angry and upset and negative when you're sitting there taking a step back and looking at things from a different perspective of being grateful for them. If you still feel bad after, that's okay too, but like, I think it's best to practice gratitude when you are stuck in these negative emotions. It's easy to be grateful when everything's going good in your life because everything's going good. What isn't there to be grateful for? But it's best to practice gratitude when you are struggling and you're at a low. Another thing is to take a few minutes, set a timer for 10 minutes to reset your space. A lot of times when I'm having anxious thoughts, if you looked at my apartment when I am having those anxious thoughts, it's more than likely a little messy, cluttered, things aren't where they're supposed to be. And that's another thing that makes me more anxious. It's like, ooh, you can't really think straight because everything's everywhere. So I'll set a timer for 10 minutes, put a podcast on, put some music on, call someone while you're doing this, and just, you don't have to clean for hours, but 10 minutes can go a long way into just resetting your space. You can do a lot in 10 minutes. It's easy to think that you have to set aside like an hour or two to clean. But if you just set 10 minutes, you can get a lot done. And a lot of times when you set a timer and you start resetting your space, just that simple action of like starting, you're going to be like, oh my God, I want to clean everything. Like, I'm on a roll. Like, I can literally do so much right now because it's just hard to get started. So do that. I bet you will feel 10 times better, more clear-headed if you reset your space, and then you can think straight. Okay, next thing. Take a long shower. When you are feeling crappy, it's kind of like claustrophobic, where you're like, oh my God, you're like just, ooh, you feel icky because it's all over you. You feel all this negative emotion and energy just sitting on you. Go take a quick shower or a long shower, whatever. Go sit under some hot water, wash your hair, wash your body. You will feel refreshed, and it's like a little act of like actually washing all this energy away. That's a big thing. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know what to do. I feel like everything's such a big process that it's like, what do I do first? Do I clean? Do I journal? Do I meditate? Do I go for a walk outside? If you can't choose something to do and they feel like such big task, go take a shower. Go wash it off. Put your products in your hair, put some lotion on. You'll feel reset and you'll feel refreshed. Then try to tackle something. Okay, next thing. Make a Pinterest board of things that inspire you. This is fun. A lot of times I forget about Pinterest, but once you start, like, if you have an idea in mind and you start like pinning things, it'll make you feel inspired and it'll put you in a new headspace of like, oh, like all of these possibilities. Like, I have this coffee shop I want to open. Let me look up coffee shop stuff. And then you're like, ooh, these are the cups I would want. Ooh, this is the color I would want. This is the vibe I would want. And it like creates this vision of all that's possible, and it makes it exciting to like, and you like look forward to it where you're like, oh, this is fun. It's fun to like have things that you want to do and aspire to do. So making a Pinterest board is a really good one. It'll cause a lot of inspiration, or it'll bring a lot of inspiration to you when you don't have fresh ideas. You're just right there, just like, that'll put you in a good mood. The next one is calling a friend or a family member. A lot of times, it's to get out of your head, like, just call someone. Call someone you haven't talked to, or call someone you know will always put you in a good mood. Just talking to them. You don't necessarily have to trauma dump. I'm not saying call them to trauma dump all of your feelings on them, because sometimes that's not cool. But if you trust them enough, then you could be like, hey, I was wondering if I could just tell you how I'm feeling. It's hard to do when we feel like we have to process everything by ourselves, but like if you could just talk to someone, that'll make you feel so much better. Or even just calling them and just asking how they are and letting them tell you about how they're doing, or you being there for them because they may be feeling low. So you can just be there for them. That'll make you feel better, and you're like, oh, like it helps you not think of only yourself. And then they could also be telling you about something exciting going on in their lives, and you're like, oh, it gets you into a new perspective of being like, oh, my problems aren't that big of a deal. Like, this person's excited about this and I'm so happy for them. Like, it gets you in a new headspace. Or you can call a family member you haven't talked to in a while, because that's always nice to do, because you miss them. And it's hard for me to call my family members, so that's another thing I want to work on. But like, calling my mom always helps me, because I don't get to talk to her here and I don't get to see her all the time. But calling her while I'm cleaning up, or just having a bad time, or driving in my car to somewhere, I can just easily call someone, and it's good to be intentional and talk to those people you love and care about. Okay, next one is taking some deep breaths. That does so much. Like, if you just feel super like tensed up, just take a few moments to just take a deep breath. It helps reset everything that's going on. It helps calm your nervous system down. A lot can happen if you just intentionally just close your eyes, breathe in for 4 seconds, and then breathe out for 4 seconds. I don't know. Go look up a breathing meditation or something, but like, deep breaths will do a lot. It'll calm your body down, especially when you're anxious or angry or upset. The next thing, this is the last thing that I could come up with right on the top of my head: crying. It is okay to cry. It is okay to cry. It's not okay to keep all these emotions bottled up in you where they make you feel crazy. If you need to cry, or if you have all these emotions in you and you just feel like you have nowhere for them to go, let it out. Allow yourself to cry. Allow your body, give your body a break, release these emotions, and just cry. It's a lot of times we don't cry. We don't allow ourselves to cry because it's like, it feels like it's a moment of weakness. But there's so much strength in giving yourself permission to let these negative emotions out. It frees your body and frees your mind of everything that isn't serving you. Just cry. Go into your room or sit in your car while you're driving. I don't know. Just let it out. You're going to feel better afterwards because you're not letting your body hold on to all of it. And you just got to release all of that energy out of your body. So, yeah, those are a few things that I do that help me when I'm feeling low. I wanted to put a lot in there to give you options because, yeah, there's so many options to do. There's so many little things that will change your thought process. Of course, it's not going to fix everything, but just for the time being, just know you have options to help yourself get out of those low moments. I'm the first to admit that I believe all of my negative thoughts, and I give up on myself without trying. But one day, if we just take one day at a time and we're intentional and find a new perspective, we will slowly rewire our thoughts and self-limiting beliefs. And we will turn them into positive ones, and we will have more positive days and have more fulfilling days. And before you know it, you will have all the trust in yourself and you will feel unstoppable. You will feel like, before you know it, everything that you believe in, it's going to be possible. Like, what if it all worked out? What if all of these goals that you had worked out? What if you spent all of your energy into focusing on how it's possible and envisioning all of it coming to fruition? One day at a time, turning these habits that aren't serving us into having more gratitude, having more intention with our days, having more trust in ourselves. Eventually, we are gonna believe it's possible. And eventually, all of it's gonna work out. And that's what I wanted to talk to y'all about today, because that's what I've been going through. Just take a step back and believe that it's all possible. Just sit there and envision what would happen. Sit there and envision, what if it worked out? What if you stopped caring what people thought and did the thing? So, okay, that's what I have for y'all. I'm going to go do a quick workout right now. And I hope you have a great week. I hope you don't listen to those negative thoughts that pop up in your head, because they are not true. They're not true. The voice in your head that's telling you all the crappy things that could happen, don't listen to it. I know it's hard, but just do your best. Try out all these things that I listed out to help you change your thought patterns and do something that'll make you feel better. Chase after real dopamine and not going to social media scrolling. Like, believe in yourself. Sooner or later, all of these things are going to work out for you. You just have to slowly but surely believe in yourself. So I will see y'all in the next episode. This is the power of not knowing. If you like this episode, like it, maybe comment on it. Okay. Bye.